Hello there everyone, Shadows of the Galaxy spoiler season is finally over. We have the whole set revealed. As far as I understand it, NDAs are up, so the remaining cards have been posted. So we're going to go ahead and talk about the full set now that we have everything. I wanted to wait until we at least had a full picture of the set before I started getting content out about it. And I think there's going to be a lot of testing that is to come. I think there's a lot of sentiments in the community that I don't quite agree with about the power level of this set. I think there's going to be some very interesting developments in the format. But that's all discussions for future videos, because today what I'm going to be doing is talking about all of the Vigilance cards, all of the blue cards, and I'm going to be doing 4 of these videos. So obviously Vigilance, Command, Aggression and Cunning. I'm going to be doing one for each of those videos. We're talking about all the cards in those particular colors. And then I'll also generically talk about the remaining hero and villainy cards in a separate video, and the generic cards. And then there's going to be tier list, and of course I'm going to be talking about some deck profiles. I'm going to be talking about my general thoughts of the set, but then of course in each video I will be giving you my overall impressions of that particular color. With that waffling out of the way, check out my Patreon. My patrons will have had all of these videos for weeks now by the time you're seeing this, and of course they get in-depth guides as and when they come out. I've done quite well so far in the game. Had a win at a case event store showdown, which I guess is the equivalent of probably like an American, for the amount that I won, it was probably the equivalent of like a 2k, and then, well, I guess like a 5k in terms of the amount I won, but I got almost all the prizing, so probably a 2k. And then, of course, as well, the top 4 at the UK Games Expo. So you should check that out. That's enough glazing myself. Let's go ahead and get into it. So, a lot of blue cards here to talk about. So, firstly, we got our 4 leaders. I think all of these are quite interesting. So, we'll start off with Gar Saxon. So, Gar on here has a passive ability that gives each friendly upgraded unit +1/+0. He deploys on 6 as a 4/7 and gives each friendly upgraded unit +1/+0. And when defeated, you return that upgrade that was attached to this unit to its owner's hand. So, my inclination with this leader is that it's probably fine. I think there's definitely potential in this shield deck, right? This is my first thought when I read this was, oh, fine. So shielded comes in, you get a shield, and you get +1. And shielded units usually are balanced, so they have slightly less power on account of how good the shield is. So, you know, something like this is obviously going to be very, very strong. You know, the obvious synergy of being able to just ECL in a shielded unit and just take out anything is obviously very, very good. Additionally, this is letting you hit very, very good numbers on curve, because like with that 1 extra attack, you're able to hit a lot of the stickier things that were potentially quite difficult to remove previously. That being said, you know, it deploys on 6. That's pretty late. It's very upgrade centric. My hot take for this set is I think upgrades are not going to be, the vast majority of them are not going to be as good as people think. I think there will be a lot of upgrades seeing play, but I think it's going to be a select few. Because if your deck is ever built around a significant number of upgrades, you're just going to get blown out by all the upgrade hate that exists. And I think we're going to see a massive increase in people main decking and side decking things like Confiscate, things like Aggression, things like the Viper, the 3-cost ship in red, whose name I forgot. But yeah, I think this is a solid, I would say, B tier leader, with potential to go up to A, depending on how the format shakes out. Because fundamentally, like, so the ability is very strong, right? Like, I mean, fundamentally, this is just a passive effect, and that is good. But you have to, it's built around, and we're going to have to see how the deck shapes out. It's not a generic effect by any means. Okay, next we've got Kira. So this is an interesting leader. Deploys on 5, 0/8. Deal 2 damage to a friendly unit. Give a shield token for 1. And then it deploys. You heal all damage from each unit, then deal damage to each unit equal to half its remaining HP rounded down. And this has grit. So, 2 obvious synergies here. The first synergy is grit, right? And that comes baked in on the card. Obviously, if you have a load of grit units, dealing them damage is going to be good. You're going to be buffing up all their stats. The other synergy is with itself, but also generally units that are that like you can give shields to. Because if you give a shield token to a unit that has damage on it, you then heal it up and then deal damage to it, the shields are going to absorb all the damage. Now, how often are you going to be able to engineer a situation where you have a damaged unit that now has a shield on it? Probably not super often. And I get the feeling this is probably going to be quite janky, but it deploys on 5. It comes in as a 4/4, essentially, right? So, I don't know. I think there is potential for this leader. I'm going to put it in top of C, bottom of B for now. I think there's a lot of leaders with a lot of potential in this set, and Kira doesn't, you know, leap into my mind as the first one I want to brew with, but I definitely think there is potential in this grit style gameplay. Though again, I do sit there and ask myself why I'm not just playing Grand Inquisitor at that point. Okay, onto the hero leaders. Firstly, we have got Finn. So Finn, action, defeat a friendly upgrade on a unit. If you do, give a shield token to that unit. And then he's deploys on 5 as a 4/6. On attack, you may defeat a friendly upgrade on a unit if you do give a shield token to that unit. So the exact same ability on both sides. Firstly, let me just say, 5/4/6. This is a really good stat line, which means that I think purely based off of stats, ignoring the ability, we can't write this leader off. That being said, this ability is pretty terrible. You basically, the only thing you can convert that is of any value is going to be experience tokens. And yeah, there's a really, really good resource loop you can do with Rose Tico, where Rose comes in, and we'll talk about her in a bit, and she gives a shield, then you can defeat a shield to give experience, and then you can put the shield back. And then you can defeat one of the experiences to put the shield back on, and so on, right? So you can get that whole train going. But, you know, it's cute, it's probably not good. I'm going to say C tier on Finn, with potential to go down to D tier. And then we got Rey. Rey, I think, is quite good. So Rey is action 1, give an experience token, tap, give an experience token to a unit with 2 or less power. And on the deploy side, she's 6, comes in at 2/6, restore 3, and on attack, you may give an experience token to a unit with 2 or less power. I think this is actually going to be really, really good. And the reason I think it's going to be really good is there are a couple of units. So actually, if I stop trolling and I'd had this all open, I'll grab these. There's a couple of units in set 1, in Hero in particular, that I think if they cost 1 more and had +1/+1 would be extremely overpowered. And those units are, the big one here is R2-D2, right? So R2 is a 1/4 that comes in and scries. This is kind of like drawing because you just get to put the bad cards at the bottom of your deck, so you're just improving the quality of your draws. It's not really drawing, but like it's pretty good. And so this comes in on turn 1 with Rey, and it's a 2/5. And then on the next turn, you can play a 2-drop and then make R2 a 3/6. A 3/6 R2 is outrageous, right? Like, that is absolutely crazy. And I think that synergy alone is making me, like, seriously look at Rey. But it's not just that, right? She comes in with Restore 3. She makes herself a 3/7, which is a respectable stat line. Yeah, she deploys a little late, but there's a lot of very powerful, like, blue hero cards from set 1 that just weren't able to see play because there wasn't really a good blue hero deck, right? Like, nothing that good. But, for example, like, of course, Luke Skywalker is an absolutely crazy card. Yoda, being able to just make Yoda a 3/5 with a Restore 2 and this powerful when defeated is really, really good. Of course, there's other cards depending on the color you splash into. If you go into, for example, into yellow, you can play Grogu and start making Grogu massive. Luke's lightsaber and Jedi lightsaber here are very powerful cards that you can start really abusing. Lots of force synergies, lots of these cheap units that, you know, really have potential to just, like, start doing some good stuff. So, yeah, I don't know. And that's not even talking about set 2. So, yeah, I think Rey, I'm going to put an A tier. I think I'm very high on Rey the more and more I've thought about her. And I think she's going to be very, very good. So, that being said, now let's move on to the actual cards in the set. And let's go down to these blue cards. And what I'm going to do is I'll open them up one by one and we'll see if that starts taking an age, and then otherwise I'll just power through. So, I'm also not going to talk about every card in depth as much as the leaders. I'm just going to kind of give my impression on it. So, Hyloban Enforcer, a 1/4 with Grit is good, of course. You put any damage on this and it's suddenly going to be very, very scary. Obvious synergy with Grand Inquisitor, where this is going to be able to smack like 3 turn 1, and then like you're going to be able to keep going from there. You can also give it a shield if you're playing the shield base. I think this is good. The bounty to draw a card is not great, but not awful. I think fundamentally a 1-drop is going to be decent, but you start with 2 resources in this game, so, you know, I think there's limited utility there. Okay, next we got Dr. Pershing. This is a crazy card in my opinion. This is a 0/5 that just draws every single turn. I think this draw engine is going to be really, really good because this is going to fundamentally, your opponent, they have to deal with it, because if you keep drawing like every single turn, like that's kind of crazy. And this is going to soak up between like 3 and 4 damage pretty easily, right? And against aggro decks, which is realistically like, you know, aggro decks are not going to want to do this, so you're going to be able to dig way harder to your answers into aggro decks. And control decks have to deal with this, because if you're drawing more cards in a control matchup, like, that's going to be crazy. I think only really, like, I don't know if the mid-range decks would care too much about this, but maybe they do. I think, you know, this is a crazy powerful card. I think this is really, really strong, and I think this is going to see a lot of play in those blue villain control decks. Pike Sentinel, this is a 2/3 Sentinel. I think this is also going to see play in those blue villain control decks, just to really stabilize against all these aggro decks. Next we got the Client. This is another absolutely crazy card for blue villain control. 2/5 shielded. Choose a unit for this phase that gains bounty, heal 5 damage from a base. So every single turn you just sit there, you go, cool, tap this guy, I'm now going to be able to heal 5, and then I'm going to cast my removal, essentially. This is insane. Huge tool for control, being able to deal with aggro decks. I'm going to be very interested to see how well aggro decks are able to cope with the Client existing. My inclination is they will be able to, because the best aggro decks got a lot of very, very good tools, but I think new aggro decks may struggle. Okay, next we've got Lom Pike. This is a 4/6. On attack, you give a shield token to an enemy unit. If you do, give a shield token to a friendly unit. So you're able to do some stuff with shields here. There's going to be a lot of synergies all dealing with shields here. Lom Pike, of course, with Kira, now we're talking about potentially where you're going to be able to see some of that synergy. Of course, your opponent is going to be able to soak up the damage from the oh no, wait, sorry, it's Kira's, am I trolling? Kira's, yeah, it's all units, yeah, sorry, I was trolling a bit. But yeah, anyway, sorry. I think this is okay. I think Smuggle for 5 is pretty fair for this card, and I think, you know, it's a 4/6, fundamentally, like, it's a pretty good stat line. It doesn't do anything immediately, and that's always going to be the worry, but I think there are decks where this is going to have a home. I don't think it's generically powerful, but I think, like, the decks that want to use it are going to use it. Sonara Sand, this is a 4 blue-black, 3/6 grit. When it's exhausted, she gains bounty, deal 5 damage to her base. I think this is absolutely a Grand Inquisitor card. This is fucking crazy. This is also very good in Kira, but I think, like, in particular, this is a Grand Inquisitor card, because, like, yeah, man, I don't care if you deal 5 damage to my base, like, whatever. I'm going to be doing so much nonsense. Like, this is perfect stats for Grand Inquisitor, right? Like, suddenly you're being able to smack it for 5 on the first turn. She's a 5/4. Yeah, crazy. And then, like, if you're able to give her a shield and stuff after that, it's just going to be nuts. Next, we have got Super Commando Squad. This is a 4/4 shielded, and then it's upgraded against Sentinel. So obviously, I think this is generally not great. A 4/4 for 5 is kind of meh. With Sentinel and shielded, it's fine. But in the context of Gar Saxon, I think this is very good, because this is a 5/4 shielded Sentinel, which is obviously, like, really good. And then when they whack the shield off it, like, that's fine, because you're probably able to get some value out of it. I think it's a lot more compelling in a Gar Saxon deck, especially considering the traits. This might see more play than I'm giving it credit for, to be fair. A 4/4 shielded Sentinel is never going to be that bad, but also, like, I can just rip the Sentinel off by taking care of the shield, so it's not going to be as powerful. But I think this is decent. Next, we've got Clan Saxon Gauntlet. This is a 4/5 Sentinel. When this unit is attacked, you may give an experience token to a unit. So this is a card that's basically never going to get attacked, because it's going to get absolutely massive very quickly. It's probably going to get hard removed, which means into those aggro decks that can't just hard remove it, this is going to be really, really scary, and it might just shut down space entirely. So yeah, this seems like the kind of card that can just shut down an entire arena on its own. I think this is very, very good. Obviously, it's no Fet's Fire Spray or anything, right? But I think it's good. First Light. This is a 7 cost, 4/7 grit. Each other friendly, non-friendly, non-leader unit gains grit, and it has Smuggle. So obviously, this is the kind of top end where, like, suddenly you've got a few little guys on the board. They've each got a little bit of damage on it, and you bring out First Light, and suddenly, like, oh dear, things are going to get pretty crazy. I think the amount of circumstances where that's going to happen are pretty limited. But I do think that this is a very, very interesting card for use in the decks like Grand Inquisitor, in decks like Kira, just to come out with Smuggle. I think the Smuggle cost is very fair for this card. It's kind of synergistic with what the decks want to do, and I think it will see play in those potentially, but I'm doubtful it'll see much play outside of that. Next, we got our first legendary, Supreme Leader Snoke. This is a 6/6 for 8. Each non-enemy, each enemy non-leader unit gains -2/-2. This is very strong. Very, very strong indeed. You can potentially turn this into a board wipe, right? I think this is the kind of card where, like, if you let this is just sort of another super laser blast, right? Like, if aggro, if against aggro in mid range, if you're able to like just slam this down, like, it's, you know, if you're getting to that stage in the game anyway, you're probably already winning. But it's just another one of those tools that's really going to let you secure the game. I think this is good. It is force traded, so what I will say is with Palpatine's return, green and blue decks, or honestly, they don't even need to be playing blue, just green decks in general, are gonna. Oh, actually, no, it will be green blue. Green blue villain decks are gonna be able to just play this for 6, and this on 6 is crazy. So, you know, I don't think there's going to be a lot of interesting potential with this card. Next, we have got Brutal Traditions. This is an interesting upgrade. I don't think it's very good because it's a 1/2 for 2, but you are able to upgrade it from your discard pile. So I think you'll probably play like 1 copy of this in decks that care about having upgrades. Next, we've got Calculated Lethality. This is defeat a non-leader unit that costs 3 or less, and then for each upgrade, you give an experience token to a friendly unit. This may see some play in sideboards, based on how prevalent upgrades are, but the fact that it only targets 3 or less units, I think is going to be a bit of an issue with this card. Next, we have got Clan Ren Rescuer. So we're moving on to the hero portion of the blue cards. So this is a 2-cost 1/2 that when played gives an experience token to a unit. So this is essentially a 2/2/3 that's slightly more versatile than that with Mandalorian and Trooper. Maybe this will see play in Rey, but I feel like a 3/3/4 is not good. Like, it's just, especially one that takes up that many actions and is dependent on like having like not getting its upgrade removed. What really, I think the synergy is going to be cards that want to be upgraded. This is going to be very, very good with those. Next, we've got Kuil. I Have Spoken. So this is a 2/3, restore 1, on attack, discard a card from your deck. If it shares an aspect with your base, return it to your hand. So this essentially says draw a card on attack, which is obviously very, very good. You can make this a 3/4 in Rey, which is obviously significantly better. Comes in with restore, kind of like Yoda, but a bit worse. Worse traits, worse stats, but an effect that can worse restore, but an effect that can potentially be more of an upside. I think this is decent, and it might see some play. Next, we have got Concord Dawn Interceptors. So these traits are crazy, and it's got a Sentinel, and it gains +2/+0 while defending. And if you're able to just keep stacking this up, it can be very, very, very good. I think there is potential in this card. Like, yeah, when it comes in as a 1/4, it's terrible, but like, you know, you can buff this up pretty easily and make it quite scary. But, you know, as I say, these cards that need to have these actions and other cards dedicated to them are less likely to be good. But it is Mandalorian traded. Village Protectors. This is a 2/2 Sentinel shielded. So, yeah, I mean, in Rey, this is a 3/3 shielded Sentinel for 4, which is not good. I don't know. It's fine. I think into aggro, it's a good tool. It's definitely a good tool into aggro. Sorry, let me emphasize. I'm joking around a bit. This is a staple into aggro. Like, this is massively going to help you not get completely blown out. Next, we have got Razor Crest. This is a 3/4, restore 2. When played, return an upgrade from your discard pile to your hand. I think this card is pretty good, but its stats are not great. I mean, generally, you're taking a bit of a hit to go to space anyway. The restore is nice. The traits are good, so we'll need to see, but my inclination is this sort of like okay power level. Nothing crazy. Alright, next we got Rose Tigos. This is the card I was talking about with Finn. This is a 2/6. Shielded, on attack you may defeat a shield token on a friendly unit. If you do, give 2 experience tokens to that unit. So the obvious synergy is you play this with ECL, and it's basically a 4/8 when it comes in. And then with Finn, you can defeat one of those to give a shield token, to give a shield token to it, and then on the next turn, rinse and repeat, and you can make it very, very big. I think that is good, and if you're playing ECL, honestly, you probably just play Rose Tigo anyway if you're playing ECL. But outside of that, like, I think this card's pretty terrible. Next up, we have got, if it'll load, we got some fun Wi-Fi issues. Okay, let's go down. So after Rose Tico, we have got, we got Rey. Here we go. Rey. So this is our next legendary. I think this card's potentially very good. This is a 5 blue, white, 4/7. Those stats are really good. While playing this unit, ignore her hero aspect if you control Kylo Ren. So they can basically, Kylo has the same effect. You can play them in the other's deck if you're playing blue or red, respectively. On attack, you may heal 2 damage from a unit. If it is a non-hero unit, give a shield token to it. So, interestingly, I feel like this card is way better in Kylo Ren than it is in its main deck, right? Like, healing 2 is obviously good, but healing 2 and giving a shield on a 4/7 is very, very good for 5. So, I don't know, like, if you ECL this in, obviously that's good, but then if you're ECLing it in, you're paying for 7 for it. So, there's sort of, like, is a lot of tension here, and I don't really know how you're going to make the best use of it, but I do know that, like, I think realistically, I will say this also synergizes with the mono blue units. So, of course, in its own deck, if you're playing decks that do not have the heroic attribute, that is going to be good as well. How many of those are you actually going to play in Rey? I'm doubtful, but I do think this is a powerful card. It's not immediate impact, and that is going to be the other big issue with it. But it has really good stats. It has a good ability. It has the Force trait. There's a lot going for it that makes me fairly high on it, but tempered expectations. I don't think it's broken. Next, we got the Armourer. So this is a 3/5. When played, give a shield to up to 3 Mandalorian units. So this is a card that if you're able to actually have a wide enough board to give out, which is not that wide, right? It's 2 units. So if you're able to have 2 other units out, this is very strong, right? Giving out 3 shields, that can be backbreaking for your opponent. So I think this is a card we're going to need to keep in mind in all Mandalorian decks because, like, that could be a pretty big power swing. Next, we've got the Gentle Giants. This is a 2/8 Grit Wookiee. On attack, you may heal damage from another unit equal to the damage on this unit. I think this is fine. Grit synergy is all well and good, but it's not in the decks that actually care about having grit. So that being said, this could see play with Han Red, but we'll come on to that in the Red video. I think this is an okay card. Seems better in draft. And I think that's true for a lot of the bad cards. Here on next legendary for blue, the Mandalorian. Wherever he goes, I go. So this is a 6/5/6 Sentinel. And when played, you may heal all damage from a unit that costs 2 or less and give 2 shield tokens to it. So this is very interesting. Of course, the synergy here, the most obvious synergy is with Grogu, because that card is really, really annoying. But I think about this card in Rey, right? Like, if it's a unit that costs 2 or less, you've probably stacked a couple experience tokens on it. And if it's just sitting there, like just being kind of big and threatening, and then you're able to just slam down the Mandalorian, fully heal it, how much damage it's taken, and give it 2 shield tokens, that might be game swinging. So I think this card has a lot of potential. I know when I initially read it, I was like, I mean, where are you using this? But I think Rey is, and of course a Yellow Mando are where you might actually use this card. So I think this has strong potential, and very good traits. So I'd like to experiment with it. All right, next we got Chewbacca. Here is a 4/10 for 8 with grit. When played, you may defeat a unit with 5 or less remaining HP, and he smuggles in red. So this is a good card. This is definitely a very good card. The problem is you need to get late enough in the game where you're actually able to play this card, and I think that is going to be the real struggle, because there isn't a good late game grindy deck in Hero at the moment. Han does not ramp to 8, it ramps to 7, so you can't really play this there. You can't cheat it out of like a U-Wing reinforcement or something, so I'm pretty iffy on this. I think there is potential long term, but for now, I think it's probably not great. Then we got Sugi. This is a double blue 4/6. While an enemy unit is upgraded, it gains Sentinel, and it has Smuggle for 6 and 1 blue. So this basically always costs 6. And I think a 6/4/6 that sometimes has Sentinel is not good. A 4/4/6 that sometimes has Sentinel is potentially okay. So I think you probably do play this in double blue, but I can't see you playing this outside of double blue. Next up, we have got Second Chance. So this is our last blue legendary. This is the double blue legendary. So this attaches to a non-leader unit and gains when defeated. For this phase, this owner's unit may play it from the discard pile for free. This is a powerful effect. It's something you're always going to want to keep in mind, because fundamentally, whenever you are able to recur something from a graveyard, especially for free, there's going to be potential for some combo, there's going to be potential for some loops. That being said, this gets so unbelievably hard countered by the amount of upgrade hate there is in the set right now, that like I am very, very hesitant to even consider this card for now. I think it's one that I'm going to be happy I own 3 copies of potentially in a year. Maybe like set 5, set 6 kind of time when that combo can exist. But I get the feeling we may rotate before this ever sees any play. I think that might be coming up to the end here. Okay, yeah, so not great. Next we got Midnight Repairs. There's another double aspect. Heal a total of 8 damage from any number of units. It's fine. It's fine. It's not bad, but I think when you see the other double aspect cards, you kind of sit here and go, all right. Then we've got Moisture Armor. This is a bad card. I guess it's okay in Ray. Temper that. It's okay in Ray. Then we've got Follower of the Way. When this unit is upgraded, it gains +1/+1. So this is good in Ray because it becomes a 3/5 for 3, which is good. So this card will probably see play in Ray, and then also, like, you know, in Mandalorian trait synergy decks. Then we've got Rickety Quad Jumper. This card's bad. Then we've got Val. This is a 2/4 bounty, deal 3 damage to a unit. When defeated, give 2 experience tokens to a friendly unit. So the active player chooses the order of Val's abilities. So what that means is if your opponent defeats it, they choose the order. Whereas if you defeat it, if you're the person who's like swinging in and killing with Val, then you get to choose, I believe. And I think this is good. I think there's strong potential here. This is a fantastic Ray card, right? You make this a 3/5 that hands out 2 experience tokens. Like, all the cards in Ray's decks are going to be pretty beefy. 3 damage is probably not going to kill anything. I'm just very high on this card. I think this is really, really good. I think Blue's going to make good use out of it. And it's underworld traded. Embo, this is a 3/3/4. When this unit completes an attack, if the defender was defeated, heal up to 2 damage from a unit. I think there is potential here. I think if we ever get an upgrade that lets like a unit like reactivate after it defeats a unit, Embo could be crazy as just a board wipe. But yeah, for now I'm pretty iffy. If this was a 3/5, I'd be higher on it, but it's a 3/4. It's okay. It's okay. Cool character though. Then we got a 2/5 for 3 here. Fine. And then we have got Rosha Tree Tender. This is a 2/4 with Grit for 3. This probably doesn't make the cut in anything. I'm doubtful. Seems very below rate. And then we've got Nima Outpost Constables. This is a 4/2/6 Sentinel. Might see play, maybe. In Ray, again, I can see this seeing play because suddenly you make it a 3/7 for 5, and that's maybe okay. And you're spreading out the resources. You can do like 1 on different turns, but yeah, I'm doubtful. This probably doesn't see play. This is probably just draft material. Survivor's Gauntlet. This is a 5/4/6. When played and on attack, you may attach an upgrade on a unit to another eligible unit controlled by the same player. I really like this card. I actually think that there's a lot of potential on this. And I think it's got very strong utility to also disrupting the opponent, right? Because, like, a lot of the time, your opponent's, like, has a unit. Like, for example, if a unit's shielded, that unit in particular is the annoying one to have shield on it. But if the shield was on something else, you wouldn't care. So it's the kind of thing where I think there's a lot of utility in that sense. And then also, you can get, like, double use out of your upgrades. Imagine if you've got, like, a Darksaber equipped or something, you swing with the Darksaber, then you move the Darksaber over with Survivor's Gauntlet. When you play Survivor's Gauntlet and then you swing again, you buff up again. I think there's very strong potential. And so, yeah, I'd be very interested to see where this goes. I think there's potential in this card, in certain decks. I think we're coming up to the end here. Vigilant Pursuit Craft. This is a 3/5 Sentinel Smuggle 7. This is terrible. This is really bad. Fen Rao. This is a 6/5/6. When played, you may play an upgrade from your hand. It costs 2 less. And when you play an upgrade on this unit, give an enemy unit -2/-2 for the phase. I'm high on this card in a Mandalorian upgrade deck. I think there is really strong potential here to, if you're getting an upgrade in for free, basically, like, suddenly this can be very, very good, very, very scary. But, you know, again, temper that with, we need to see how good upgrades actually are. Also, this will let you play bounties that are like 2 cost for free, so worth pointing that out. Then we got Public Enemy. This attach unit against bounty, give a shield token to a unit. I think this is probably not good. And then we've got Foundling. Attach unit gains Mandalorian. I think this is a draft card. Top target. Attach unit gains bounty, heal 4 damage from base, or if the unit's unique, heal 6 damage. This is crazy. This is insane. This is the kind of card that is going to make control really, really hard for aggro to deal with. If they're able to... I mean, they are going to be able to trigger this, right? Like, I think it's going to get to the point where, like, you're gonna control. Sorry, aggro I think needs to probably start main decking like a lot of these upgrade hates, or like a lot of like Saboteur and stuff to get around Sentinels, and a lot of just ways to remove these bounties, because I think like stuff like this into blue is just backbreaking. And I think that might be it. We're coming up to it. Mandalorian armor. How many more of these we got? Oh, still a few more, Mandalorian armor attached to a non-vehicle unit. The attached unit is Mandalorian, you give a shield, so it's 1/3 shielded for 2. I think this can see play in Mandalorian. Of course, if we imagine that with Fenral, this is free, so Fenral becomes a 7/9, sorry, a 7/9, I think, shielded, which is crazy, so I think there's potential for this card. Next, we've got Vambrace Grapple Shot, which gives +2/+2, and on attack, exhaust the defender. I think there's also potential for this, but less so. Obviously, this one, like a Boba Fett, is crazy. But then you're playing blue-yellow villain control, I guess. Covert Strength, heal 2 damage from unit and give an experience token to it. I think this card has definite potential. I'm quite high on this card, in particular because you can smuggle it. So late game, when like your opponent's maths is like perfect on like a Sentinel or something, and you just go nope, I think there's going to be some really strong potential with this card. Then we've got Unexpected Escape. Exhaust a unit, you may rescue a capture card guarded by that unit. This is going to be a staple sideboard tool, I think, if capture ever becomes seriously relevant in the meta. Then we have got Evidence of the Crime. Take control of an upgrade that costs 3 or less and attach to an eligible unit of your choice. This is going to be a really interesting card. I think there's potential. I think we're going to have to see how many upgrades end up in the format, but if you're just stealing upgrades, like, that's going to be really good. And I think, yeah, we've got Fell the Dragon. Defeat a non-leader unit with 5 or more power. So this is functionally better than Vanish, I think. For all intents and purposes, whenever you'd be using Vanquish, you probably want to use Fell the Dragon. So I think this is better. And then Vanquish gets sandwiched again by Rival's Fall. This is a 6 cost defeat a unit. This includes leaders. This is a staple tool. Like, this has to exist, I think. Otherwise, the leaders are going to get way too dominant because you're able to just stack them up to a ridiculous degree now and make them almost unkillable. So, yeah, Rival's Fall is definitely really important. And of course, like, because cards like Fell the Dragon are non-unit, right? So then we've also got these last 2 cards. So we've got Imprison. This is a 2 cost. Attached to a non-leader unit. Attached unit loses its current abilities and can't gain abilities. This is going to be very interesting. I think if you imprison like an Avenger or something, that's hilarious. But we'll have to see how good this ends up being. Maybe a sideboard tool. And then we've got Mystic Reflection. So give an enemy -2/-0 for this phase. If you control a force unit, give it -2/-2 instead for the phase. How good is this going to be? I don't know. If it's going to be seeing play anywhere, though, it's going to be in the Mandalorian or Rey. But there we go. That is every single blue card in set 2. Shadows of the Galaxy. I'm really excited for the set. Overall, I think blue got some really good tools. Most excited, the blue leader I'm most excited for is definitely Rey, then Gar, then Kira, then Finn. But like Rey, well ahead of the rest. So I think that is going to be really exciting. If you guys enjoyed this video, please do like and subscribe to the channel for lots more Star Wars Unlimited content. And I hope to see you guys in the next video. Cheers.